We are live.
Thank you. It is 2:04 p.m. on Thursday, October 28th, and we will call this meeting to order of the Selkirk Fire Joint Powers Board. We have participating board members, Kate McAllister representing City of Sandpoint, Will Gadsby representing Westside Fire District, and Jim Woodward representing Sago Fire District and participating electronically. In addition, we have myself, Jennifer Stapleton, Sandpoint City Administrator, Sarah Lenz, Sandpoint Finance Director, Treasurer, and Gavin Gilcrease, our Fire Chief. With that, Gavin, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any announcements by the JPA board members? And any staff announcements? Okay. With no announcements, we'll move forward to the meeting minutes and approval of those. Does someone want to make a motion?
I will. So moved.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't second the motion. It would be Jim.
Okay.
I can second the motion.
Okay.
Yes, I'm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. With that, we will go over to you, Chief, and your report and update.
All right. So for the October meeting, the Chief's report, got a few things to go over and like announcement type deals and updates. So this month kind of wraps up our fire prevention activities. We started those pretty much full towards the beginning of the month. It's Fire Prevention Week. We like to call it Fire Prevention Month. But on October 6th was when it really cranked up for us, getting it back into the schools and whatnot. So the crews have pretty much been inundated, but in a good way, with all the classroom visits. And we've even had several station visits by some of the homeschool folks. So that's kind of coming to an end. I believe the last event that I saw that we had planned is for the glow stick giveaway. I think we do that every year at on Lincoln Avenue, Lincoln Road Street, for trick-or-treaters. And we did have some cancellations, but overall we were able to get our message out, and we've had very positive feedback from parents and teachers and stuff like that. So we're going to call this one another successful year, COVID willing, and look forward to kind of getting a new look at it next year. We have a new firefighter engineer, Tassant, is taking over the fire prevention program, and just looking forward to get some fresh eyes on that and seeing if we want to tweak anything and see if we can get the message out in a different way. So an update on our volunteers and residents. This month also served as a start for our recruitment drive for volunteers. I was able to meet with the volunteer association, the president of that association, and their board, just to kind of get an idea of where we're at with our volunteer program and how we're going to get that, how it's going to look moving forward and how we're going to get that going. Volunteers, again, as a resident program, is very important to me. It's very important, I think, to our fire districts as a whole. They are a very, I would say, a very reliable way to have a force multiplier, where normally we would have, trucks with one person, or we show up with 3 trucks and 3 people. This way, maybe we're showing up with 4 or 5 trucks and 10 to 15 people. So we were looking forward to getting those resources front loaded onto incidents, and I think this is a really good way for us to do it. The resident program, which is currently underway at the Dover station, is actually, we're looking to restructure that a little bit and revamp it. We've got a couple of folks that are in there that have gotten their full-time employment, so they're going to be moving on. And this is a real good opportunity for us to get some fresh folks in there to kind of keep that one going. We really want to try to get Dover to a point of success that we can use that as a template for the rest of the district. There are two other stations, the Bottle Bay station and also the station out at Cine Aquatine, that we may be able to kind of use this template and replicate it in both of those stations. So that just helps us out even more. The first draft review of the handbook for that program, for the resident program, has been completed. We're going to review that again at least one more time, if not twice, before the implementation of the program. I think we'll probably start that. Last I heard, it'll probably be right after Thanksgiving. So we're just trying to time it, because we want the folks that are in there to be able to help do some type of turnover with the new folks coming in. So that way they're sort of not blind and, hey, here's the keys, good luck. So want to be able to do that. The deputy chief search, the search is nearing its completion. We have an interview scheduled for November 9th and 10th for the candidates. We also have a promotional exam for our open captain position. Will be on December the 6th. We did bring on one new hire, and he completed his onboarding process with HR. He's now going through his probationary training and the physical, getting his physical. And his estimated status change to shift schedule would be probably estimated and forecast about the second week in December. So this kind of depends on how we get ramped up and get through Thanksgiving holidays anyway. But wait, there's more. The financials for as far as this year, we're basically going through our year-end closeout stuff. We're looking at our SAFER grant that we have through SAGL is getting ready to close out. And also we have another grant for the generator set out at the Renko station. That's completed, so we'll be closing that one out. The SAGL and Westside audits will be performed. The bookkeeping audits will be done next month. We have completed all the basically like the pregame forms that the auditors wanted filled out. We've got all that stuff submitted. So we're just basically waiting to hear back on what the date is on when they want to start, when they're going to be in person to do that part. The last thing I had basically came from today, and I met with them out at station, the SAGL station, station 3. So next Friday, we're going to start our food drive, our annual food drive to help out the Bonner County Community Food Bank. And that'll be at the Super One here in town, Super One Foods here in town. And let's see, what does it say? The Thanksgiving meal handout will actually be the week before Thanksgiving this year. So it's between the 15th and the 19th from 9 to 12 each morning. Monday and Tuesdays, which Tennille was saying that Monday and Tuesday is probably going to be busier because they're expecting about half the amount of turkeys as they would normally get because of supply chain. And we're all dealing with that, but it especially hits these folks hard during this time of year. So anything we can do to help out with that, we're all in. So that concludes the report.
I have a two-part question, but I think I need to ask you first. So does tracking volunteer, is that the same thing as other volunteer time? Tracking that time, can you use it if you put a monetary value to it, like for grants for the firefighters, or is that a whole different because it's a municipality? Only because there were $28.64 an hour. That's what volunteer time is for it.
Yeah.
And so some nonprofit organizations track their volunteer hours and they use it as cash match for grants if it's allowable with the grant. But I'm not sure if municipalities, if they count in that. Because when I hear volunteer time, I'm like, are you tracking that? It's worth money.
We aren't using it for any purpose for our three organizations, but if it would benefit a nonprofit and we're doing work in conjunction with a nonprofit, then yes, we could provide that information on ours so they could use it.
Or even to use it, you know, to give really good press, you can say, hey, we are volunteer firefighters. If we were to equate that to dollars, they've given us over $500,000 worth of time, you know, because that's kind of good press. Second, good job on City Aquatine. That's excellent. You said it right. I know. And then the SAFER grant, the question I have is, are we going to be able to absorb those firefighters? because with the grant going away, we're going to be able to absorb them in our budget to
Right.
keep
From
them.
my understanding was that the way that, and I went over this with Nicole as well, because part of their closeout is how they transition from the grant side of it into the full-time employee side. After talking with her, it is their status as grant employees, I think, ends at the last of November, and then they're basically carried on through the month of December as a Sagal employee, and then in January they become full-time City of Sandpoint employees.
Okay.
Funded by SEG.
Funded by Sagal.
Okay.
Correct. It's a weird way that they have to.
Yeah.
They have to title certain sections of it because it's just the way the transition hits. If it's basically the same type of thing, we just have to. It takes that month to close everything out and to get them brought over. So yeah.
I just want to make sure that we are able to absorb them. And
Right.
We don't have to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
So what they were in our budget is that those were added for 3/4 of the year into the Sandpoint budget as a pass-through expense over to Sagal. So they have been budgeted that way. They've on both sides, both in Sagal and on Sandpoint side.
Excellent.
So
And then last, can you get me a photo op of you guys doing the food stuff? Because then I can put that out there in the social media verse, and
Absolutely.
that's always good for city employees and the firefighters, even though firefighters don't need it because everybody loves you. But yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
like standing in front of the camera too.
I know, right? Pose. And that's all. Sorry.
Question.
Uh-huh.
That will completely end the SAFER grant for those firefighters at Sagal.
Correct.
It won't renew next year.
Now this is so it's a 3-year program. And they're on, this is the end of their 3rd year.
Okay.
So, right. And hopefully if we can swing it some other way, then maybe we just take about a year break. And then we look at trying to do it again to see if if we're in a position and we can hedge that again, I'd like to do that again, but we'll probably let the dust settle for a couple minutes anyway.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have any questions?
No, sounds good.
Okay. With that, we will move on to our next item, which is financial report. And Sarah, you're on first.
share my screen. First, I'm going to show, this was all part of the packet, so you will have had it. But I wanted to point out a few things that may draw a question. So this is the last quarter of the fiscal year. I did this because this is when we took over Sandpoint took over all of the employees. So it makes a good clean cutoff for the year of showing the data. July and August have already reported on. September is what I'm going to talk about in detail now. So for fiscal year end, the way that we run, we pay a week in arrears for the payroll period, or the payroll period that is before. So in October, we have October 1st, we had a pay period that is all related to fiscal year 21. So basically all related to September. And then our second pay period of the month is partially related. So about a week and a day is related. So all of that gets accrued back at year end because that is all related to the fiscal year. So the salaries in that month do look higher, but it is because it's related to that. When you're doing accrual method, the beginning of the year will also have the same lack of expenses, if that makes any sense. So October of last year, you should have seen a lack, if it was accrued properly, you should see in October, it will have been a much smaller expense for the monthly expense on both Sagal and Westside's books. I did include, or you will see this on your bills as they come to the various entities. Let me scroll down. So when you get the bill, you will see on, let's say, Sagal, for example, I have broken it apart from September's wages to October accrued wages and all the way down. So what is overtime, what is benefits, and that's per station. If you have any questions on this, let me know. We have tons of detail and backup. When you get the actual bills, you will have a by person for each of these pay periods as well, just like we've had for the last 2 billings. So all the support will be included in that. I didn't include it in this packet because that's just a lot of detail that in this meeting I don't believe needs to be included. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. Below this.
Sarah, you're talking about the
Yep, go ahead.
Sarah, you were talking about the 2-page PDF that you attached to the that we got in
Yes.
an
Yes.
email September.
Yes.
And when you're looking at these expenses, do you run them side by side with budget to make a comparison, or is that possible so we'll know where we stand year to date and month to month?
Yeah, that's what I have. So the problem with last year that was really hard is that the budgets, we didn't have Sagal or Westside budget for Sandpoint. I don't go to Sam or Westside and accumulate that for you. Yeah, and then go forward, yes, we do have budgets that we will be showing that. So in fiscal year 22, you'll have a column here that has budget. You'll have in each month will then be listed for accumulation and a percentage of year-to-date budget. It's just this fiscal year was really hard because we did this mid-year and there was no budgets to basically to tie back to.
Okay, thank you.
So in our next meeting, you'll see the Octobers that way.
Great.
Moving on to the JPA administration. Roll this up a little bit bigger. This was also included in the packet, and this includes all of the in the initial, when we went into the JPA, we had that JPA administration that includes several different categories of expenses that were going to be billed back on a percentage. So we had this bill again in August and July and August. You see all these billings? This is September's closeout. You will see that if you compared last month's to this month's, you will see some invoices that were paid that were for prior months, as in like July, August, and September, that did not get paid until September. And that was because, for the most part, that was a few items that came through that were a training. I don't know what the exact detail on it was, but there was a training thing that hadn't been paid. And it used to go to Sagal, they used to pay it, but it was really a training expense that should have been being paid holistically and then billed back out. Well, in transition of things, Sagal didn't even know they were getting this bill, and it hadn't been paid for 6 months.
Is that the monthly subscription?
Yeah. So it all got paid in September, but it has been accrued. I mean, it is spread throughout there. Same with IT. I think I explained last month that we were finalizing how the IT costs were going to be split out. We also had some IT costs that were onboarding of Sagal and Westside. So that was a contract that we had with ex-Babylon for them doing their work. So that all those expenses were basically hit in September or paid in September, but were related to prior months. So you will see basically by month in here. Down at the bottom over here is split out again the same way, Sandpoint, Sagal, and Westside, the percentages. And then down at the very bottom, I have put a basically billed year to date and then a remaining to be billed in September is how I've done it, because if you add up, like I was just saying, if you add up the different months, they don't correspond to what's been billed in the past, because a couple other expenses were paid in September that were really related to the prior months. And how we record those is if it happened in that month, it should be in that month, not in when it was paid. So if you want any more explanation on that, please let me know. In the billings that come to each entity, we'll have a detail of all of the expenses that by, the $100 here is this, $100 there is this. All of these expenses do go through Gavin for approval. There are a few like IT that go through Jennifer for approval. But that's been talked about on the back end of things, or approved and agreed upon on the back end of things. So they've all, in my opinion, have all been approved by the appropriate to get onto here. So.
And on the IT front, this was getting moved over from the GoDaddy and kind of the legacy Microsoft system over to Office 365. So it was cost related to that. Enhancing, upgrading firewalls, getting all of that set up so we have a better functioning, more reliable system.
Correct. I think the only one that we're trying to the gremlin that we're trying to figure out is the Sagal station, because that one we had it working and then it didn't. So we keep just kind of adding little band-aids on and on and on and on. And eventually now it's so slow out there, the internet and it's like in and out. So just having a meeting with the ex-Babylon folks the other day, I think we have a game plan that we can kind of get that back to where it needs to be, but they have to figure out exactly how they want to do it and get their quote put together. But so we can't do anything until we see the dollar sign on it. So we need to know what that's going to look like. So.
And is the issue with that still internet service provider?
No, it's definitely not the internet service provider. It's Zippy. Yeah, they have internet out there for days. It's what has been added on like after the modem. Everything downwind and downline of that modem is what's causing it. There's a really archaic firewall in there, and then there was something else and some little like Linksys routers and stuff. Yeah. It's just really, I said, I want it clean. I want it to go from the modem to the switch. Then I want the hard cables going to the workstations and a Wi-Fi wireless access point, one in the main house and then one in the office section. So that way everything's nice and clean and it's done, and we don't have to figure out if this Wi-Fi is fighting that one. It's crazy. I was looking at it again today. It's just insane out there. So, but I think we have a plan. I just need to see like dollars and cents if it's going to be worth it. But we have to look at doing something out there. So.
Well, everything's old because Verizon sold it off to Frontier. Frontier sold it off to Ziply, and yeah.
And pretty consistently, one of the things that we're finding is we've also had homegrown systems. So we've added boxes on boxes, firewalls, redundant firewalls. And so those are issues too. And they have been built more to like what you would do in a home and residential standards. And they're not keeping up with then what are the increased speed needs and access needs. And so they need to really get it so it's functioning like what you would need in a professional environment too. So
yeah, they have to be able to log on to do training and to do reports and stuff like that. And it's just, you put one in and you get the lollipop of death for about 30 minutes. And it's like, okay, well now I can do the second box. That's just, we can't do it like that. So
yeah, it wastes time.
Oh, very much so.
So other than that, from my standpoint, there was one more bill that just came in today that will need to be added to this. It was a Coleman Oil gas bill that was for a fiscal year end. So I will update this. I think it was like $150. That will increase this a little bit. But other than that, that will be going out. My goal is to have these out to the different agencies tomorrow. So to be on the next agenda to be paid.
Excellent.
Any other questions or comments on the financial report?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, this meeting adjourned 2:28 p.m. on October 28th.